McDonald's, Starbucks, Domino's. Just a few of the companies that have seen their sales nosedive as consumers are calling corporations out for their support of Israel's war on Gaza. How effective are these boycotts? Do they really hit brands and Israel where it hurts? I'm Anelise Borges, and this is The Stream.
This graphic was put together by the Boycott, Divestments, and Sanctions movement, which is the voice that we need to be listening to first and foremost when it comes to all these boycotts.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Starbucks and H&M are leaving the Moroccan market.
I'm going to show you how to make all of the drinks on the menu so you can enjoy them at home without having to spend your money and support Israel.
The first brand is Domino's Pizza.
ما تتاكلش معفشة ووحشة.
Money talks. If a brand starts losing money and it's clear why, they're forced to make changes.
I'm a content creator who wants to use her platform, and I don't want to be supporting makeup brands that fund genocide and apartheid.
What do Puma, Siemens, and Carrefour have to do with Israel's ongoing war on Gaza? Does abandoning their products really make a difference in bringing the plight of Palestinians to an end? Since October, Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions has seen a huge surge in global support. The Palestinian-led movement has been calling for pressure on companies that profit from Israel's occupation. But can BDS bring about real change? And if so, how? Here to discuss this with us are Saleh Hijazi, Apartheid-free policy coordinator at BDS, who joins us from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank, Alys Samson Estapé, formerly the European campaigns coordinator for BDS, joining us from Barcelona, and Ahmed Bashbash, the founder and developer of the NoThanks app. He's from Gaza, but is currently in Budapest. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the stream today. Ahmed, I want to start with you. You're very much part of this movement, so much so that you created an app, NoThanks, that helps consumers figure out which brands to boycott. Can you tell us why you actually created this app?
The idea of it with two different approach. The first approach, it was like when I was in the store, I wanted to buy some stuff, but like I didn't know which one to boycott, which one I'm not supposed to buy. So it got to me this idea, but I didn't do anything about it till in the 31st of November, when I lost my brother. Then I was like, okay, I think now it is the time for me to make something for my country, as I am in abroad and I'm not in my country, and I lost my brother there, and before it I lost my sister too. So I was like, okay, I think it is time now to do this, the app, and make it in their behalf, like a charity work for them.
So this was actually motivated by massive personal loss. Today, when you see the app working, do you feel as though this is your way to pay homage to your sister and to your brother?
Yes, actually, I when I saw, like, for example, now I have in the Play Store around 119,000 downloads, and a lot of people are waiting for the iOS version and these things. I feel like I did something to my brother who I lost and my sister. Even it is like a very small thing, but it still count.
Saleh, BDS is not an organization, is a movement, is a tactic that has been around actually for some 20 years. Can you tell us about the origin of this? How did it all start?
BDS started in 2005 by the absolute majority of Palestinian society in Palestine and in forced exile. It builds on a tradition of Palestinians for many decades of boycotts, civil disobedience, nonviolent resistance that goes alongside all forms of trying to rid ourselves of illegal occupation, settler colonialism, and apartheid. And what it does, it works on ending complicity by states, corporations, and organizations and institutions in Israeli crimes against the Palestinian people, including the crime against humanity of apartheid, and now the crime of genocide that we are seeing unfolding in Gaza. So it looks at companies, institutions, and states that directly contribute to the perpetrating of these crimes against Palestinians here and also in forced exiles by preventing them from their right of return. We want to see the dismantling, the end of Israel's settler colonialism and apartheid against our people.
Alys, if I can bring you in here, what can you tell us about the concrete impact that these campaigns actually have on some of the brands that are targeted throughout the years? Have you seen any kind of policy change on the part of these brands?
First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be with you. I can speak of a specific example from where I'm based and where I live in and where I'm organized in Barcelona in the Spanish state, where through a huge coalition of civil society for over 2 years, we're asking the Barcelona City Council to end its relationships with apartheid Israel, with the Israeli government. And I think where we managed to convey the idea that it is impossible to say that you stand in defense of human rights and have relations as normal with apartheid Israel. And I think that that's something very important of what BDS organizing and BDS campaign does, is create this narrative. Let's remember that we're right now in the world where there's such bias in the media defending Israeli crimes. There's so much misinformation that it's so important the change in narrative that BDS and organizing in solidarity with Palestine does, conveying the idea that Israel is a settler colonial state that applies apartheid to the Palestinian people. So yes, I think that all of this organizing makes it harder for companies to do business as usual with Israel and for states too.
I want to bring it back to Ahmed's work, and I want to share with you all a clip of the app that he created.
أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم والله أنا دمي.
Ahmed, can you tell us a little bit more about how the app actually works?
So the idea of the app is very simple. I make logarithms that will take the barcode of the product when you scan it, and it will take the brand name of it and will compare it to the boycott list of the brands that we have already. And if there is a match, it will get you that it is in the boycott list, and then you have the choose to buy it or not.
It's quite a helpful tool for people who want to join the movement. Saleh, I want to talk to you a little bit about the wider strategy here, because as Alys mentioned, it's very important to alter the narrative, perhaps. There has been one particular narrative that the West has adopted, and now we're seeing other parts of this story actually highlighted. And we've been talking a lot about the boycotting of brands, but BDS also calls for the boycott of cultural and academic institutions and for divestment and sanctions on Israel. Can you tell us a little bit about these other tactics and how effective they have been?
Yes, BDS is inspired, among other examples, by the South African struggle against apartheid. And the premise here is that we build people power. When you have powerful governments and institutions siding and supporting with the oppressor, that it is through people and people power that we can create a change. And this change can happen by applying pressure from the grassroots up through mass mobilization. Very important to know, BDS is a movement of millions of people, unions, civil society organizations, grassroots groups all around the world that are joining these campaigns and applying the pressure One is consumer boycotts that we've been talking about, but two is what would fall under the S in BDS, is sanctions. It's the isolating of apartheid, just like it was the case in when there was apartheid in South Africa. Apartheid South Africa was kicked out of the United Nations. It was not allowed to be in international forums. It was isolated until the apartheid regime was dismantled, and you had a state that was then enshrined in democratic state with rights for all, freedom, justice, and equality. And this is what we aim for. And so, yes, you have the B in the BDS, which is the boycotts, which, the consumer campaigns fall under the divestment, which Alys pointed to. And this includes, for example, city councils divesting from Israel's occupation, illegal settlements, and apartheid. Or, for example, saying that they will never contract companies that are either complicit in Israeli crimes or Israeli companies, like, for example, the City Council of Dublin. And then you have major corporations, and some of the successes that we've had over the years includes, for example, most recently G4S, a multinational security company that pulled out of Israel. Before it, there was French multinational company Veolia, Orange, and the list goes on. You can visit our website for the list of successes. And this falls under the D, BDS. But the main point here is that when you have an apartheid regime, a settler colonial apartheid regime that is currently perpetrating genocide against an indigenous population, that you isolate that regime until these crimes end and the system of apartheid is dismantled.
You're talking about isolation. Is it effective on a financial level? Is this actually affecting Israel's economy in any way?
Look, it's an accumulative work. As I was saying, BDS was established in 2005 with many successes to go along with the way and many challenges. There's massive repression that is happening against the BDS movement. And these successes accumulate. I've named a few. You have also, for example, sovereign funds like the one in Norway. These are massive multi-million funds that have divested from Israel. And we continue to work and accumulate. So, yes, it does have an impact financially and economically. And we hope that it will have more so as we go along. But it also has a political impact of isolating apartheid Israel. And, just most recently, you could see, for example, the voting in the UN General Assembly when it came to the ceasefire, how the US and Israel were isolated when it comes to the rest of the world. Same thing in terms of, for example, the reaction with the US veto protecting Israel, most recently in the Security Council. So you see the isolation working.
Alys, do you agree that the political impact is as important, perhaps, as the impact on the economy?
Yes, totally. Just to build on what Saleh was saying, and in words of Benjamin Netanyahu himself, there was an article recently published in the Financial Times which said that he'd spoken to local Israeli media saying that they need three things from the US: munitions, munitions, and munitions. And that there have been huge demonstrations in Western capitals that concern him, because this political pressure overseas could threaten the US arms shipments, and that Israel had to apply counter pressure because there has been disagreements with the best of its friends. And I think this speaks very clearly when it's Israel's prime minister that's speaking of this concern, seeing how mass people power, how these huge mobilizations all around the world are affecting and can affect Israel. And I think this is part of what we were saying before about this change of narrative. Take one very specific example. It was French company Veolia years ago, after tens of millions of euros of losses due to participating in the Jerusalem Light Rail, which is a rail that connects illegal Israeli settlements built on Palestinian stolen land between them. After sustained pressure all around the world, Veolia decided to leave due to its huge losses. There were other companies that applied for the bidding, and last minute they decided to pull back, because there was an Israeli newspaper that said that Jerusalem is out of the pale. And I think that this is part of what I was saying about this change of narrative, how, as Saleh was saying before, Israel is more and more isolated at a political level and economic level. And this is due to mass mobilization all around the world.
And to go back to the boycotting aspect of this, consumers are going after companies that are directly complicit in the oppression of Palestinians, like HP, whose technology is actually used by Israel to surveil Palestinians in the West Bank. But people are also boycotting companies that endorse Israel's occupation in more subtle ways, like McDonald's, which handed out free meals to IDF soldiers, or Starbucks, which sued its workers' union for posting pro-Palestine content online. Here's just one example.
I know you guys don't want to hear it, but Starbucks as a company, nothing to do with the workers, but Starbucks as a company deliberately supports genocide. So when you're paying to take that drink, your dollars are voting to have children killed in Palestine. I know you guys don't want to hear this. I know you're going to stay on your computer and stay deaf, dumb, and blind, but that's what's happening.
Ahmed, I want to ask you, from what you're hearing from your Palestinian friends, perhaps back in Gaza, are they seeing any of this? And is it important to them in any way that this is actually happening, that people are boycotting these brands, or it doesn't really matter at this stage?
To be honest, the impact we are talking about is not about what my friends are seeing. It is the whole point of it. It is like to support the pumping that's happening right now in Gaza. So these economic things that it is like the money that is go to Israel, that goes to buy bombs, buy fuel for the airstrikes. So the people, maybe they don't see it, but we don't like to share our part with this genocide. That's the whole point of our side of Boycott, to not to be a part of this genocide.
Not to be a part of the financing of these operations. Saleh, BDS has faced criticism and opposition in the past, with some people claiming that the movement is somehow anti-Semitic. What do you say to that?
Well, look, BDS is a movement that is based on principles and ethics. We stand against racism in all its forms. This is quite crucial because otherwise it will not work. It's a human rights movement that is against discrimination. It's against racism, any form of racism. And actually a quite crucial and strong component within the movement are organizations like, for example, Jewish Voice for Peace, who have been doing these very inspiring actions in the US, aiming at ending the US complicity in Israel's crimes of apartheid and genocide against the Palestinian people. We are a movement of intersectional struggle. And the basis of this intersectionality are these principles of justice, freedom, and equality. This is why it works. This is why we have millions of people of all, kinds of backgrounds, color, race, ethnicity, religion. The movement is blind to that, and that's what makes it successful, and you have so many supporting it all around the world.
Alys, as we mentioned at the start of the show, we actually saw a significant increase in support to this movement. Would you say that this represents a change in the tide here in terms of global opinion, of public opinion around the world with regards to how Israel treats Palestinians?
Yes, definitely. I think we're seeing a huge new wave of solidarity with Palestine. We're seeing people who had never mobilized for Palestine before that are seeing things very clearly right now. I think there's been an effort to always portray what happens in Palestine as something complex and difficult to understand when it's actually very clear. Israel is trying to steal Palestinian land by removing all Palestinians from this land. And I think that we're seeing workers from all over the world. We're seeing people, we're seeing activists, we're seeing people of conscience, we're seeing more and more institutions and companies saying that not in their name, that they do not want to be part of Israel's genocide. And I think that we're seeing very clearly a growing gap between what people on the streets are marching for and are calling for, and then what institutions are doing. And I think it's important that we remember that change throughout history hasn't happened on its own. It's been people organizing and marching and doing lots of work behind the scene that has enabled change.
And with a long list of BDS boycott targets, how do you make sure that the company or institution you're targeting will actually listen? This social media user has some thoughts on the importance of clear demands.
So if you're, for example, trying to support the BDS movement, they have specific companies and they also have very specific reasons for each of those companies, right? They can clearly articulate an end condition, right? Boycott of Puma could stop if they no longer sponsored the Israeli football leagues. They're operating in the occupied West Bank. So if you're participating in that boycott, you could say, I am not purchasing clothing from Puma until they no longer sponsor these leagues. The until is a really key phrase there. It lets people see that you're being reasonable, that you have a good reason to not be buying this product, and that it tells the company, and especially if a lot of people say it in this way, that there is potential for them to make more money if they do the right thing than there is for them to continue to do the wrong thing. The goal of a boycott campaign is to make it easier for the company to meet your demands instead of not meet them.
Saleh, can I get your view on where is this movement heading to next?
Well, it's to grow and to build on all of this people power that we've seen in reaction to the genocide unfolding in Gaza, and to work to, well, have this complicity of, for example, companies like Puma, the insurance company AXA, the computer company HP, and their complicity. And you know, the video you just put there is absolutely right. We build targeted campaigns that show the complicity and the nature of that complicity. And we also show what the end of the complicity looks like in the case of Puma, is ending that sponsorship of the Israel Football Association, for example. We also want to see Israel, again, inspired by struggles all around the world, like the one in South Africa, to be kicked out of international forums, of the UN General Assembly, of FIFA, of the Olympics Committee. Apartheid has no place there. And we will build people power to ensure that Israel has no space in these international forums. We want also to see divestment in major, for example, weapons companies. Elbit Systems is Israel's biggest weapons company. It has investments from all around the world. We will continue to be working so that companies, funds, individuals, and so on would divest from Elbit Systems because of, well, basically producing these arms that are perpetrating the genocide in Gaza right now. But also because, let me add, because also of a massive destruction it has all around the world. You know, and this is again going back to the intersectionality of struggle, that these weapons, these surveillance, for example, technologies that violate human rights are also exported by apartheid Israel to other places around the world, particularly in the global south.
Right.
Africa as a continent is the largest, for example, market of that, and we want to see an end to this because of the human rights there as well.
I want to give Ahmed a final chance here to express his views. And Ahmed, I would like to get your message to the people that might be using your app, for example, on the importance of this movement, maybe a message on behalf of your brother.
The whole idea for my app, it is just like to prevent what happened to me to happen to another Palestinian, to lose his brother, to his family, to lose his house. This boycott movement, we are not doing it as an anti-Semitic, as most of the people saying. It's not anti-Semitic or related to this. We are just want a peace in my country. I don't want to lose another brother for me. I don't want to lose my sister there. And I'm pretty sure that there is a lot of other Palestinians who wanted the same thing. They don't want to lose their house. Now, how many the destruction happened in my country, in Gaza, in this genocide? I think like the last statistics say that more than 70% or 60%, like that's a lot. Like, and we wanted to prevent that happened, or at least if we couldn't prevent it, I don't want my money to go in this destruction. That's the whole idea of my app.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, Alys, and Saleh, for joining us here on the stream today for such an important conversation. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget, you can continue this conversation online. If you have a comment about our show, you can talk to us on social media. And if you have a topic that you would like to see discussed here on this show, please join us. You can use the hashtag or the handle AJStream, and we'll look into it. Take care, and I'll see you soon.